Whenever he got a d4 knight playing King's Indian, Bobby Fischer said he will make at least a draw. Welcome everyone to round 6 of Arad Blitz, where we are gonna find out if this role is still accurate. I'm facing a candidate master and I am playing the King's Indian. I am going for a risky chess, looking forward to create an imbalanced position and hopefully start playing for a win. And my opponent went for what is known to be the Alexei Sarana special, where I went for knight c6 because d5 allows knight e5 winning bishop pair, so he castled, and after e5, d5, knight d4, we do get a big crossroads. It's possible to play knight d4 and then knight e2, rook e8. I had many games like this online, but my opponent played something different with h3, where after c5, we will be testing Bobby Fischer's famous King's Indian rule, which basically goes that whenever Bobby Fischer got a knight on d4, he said that he never loses, which basically means he will make at least a draw in case you needed explanation for that. Now, after bishop e3, black can go for the trade. But it just felt to me that it's way more annoying for my opponent to keep the knight. And after knight d5, I wasn't a huge fan of this move by my opponent because you get the pawn onto a weak square instead of keeping it. And after f5, we do get a dream opening position. Now, the game is not over, obviously. We got a great opening position, but now we're entering the phase where we need to build up the attack. I'm looking forward to play f4, g5, and then storm my opponent's king with the pawns in a typical King's Indian fashion. Why are we doing that? Because pawns open up the road for the pieces and usually not the other way around. So remember, nice little rule in general in chess. And after knight takes on d4, this is potentially a game deciding decision, because by the book you want to take towards the center, but yeah, this is also something that I'm going about in my upcoming strategy book. The skill of a player really is in his ability of understanding when to bend the rules. So I'm also looking at it takes on d4, potentially creating a square for the bishop on e5. And also, it just felt like during the game, if I take this way, my opponent can get some annoying pressure on the c file. So I'm trying to analyze the pros and cons, and I stick with the best move by far, taking with the e-pawn. Somewhat unnatural, but opening up a strong square for the piece while limiting opponent's counterplay. Now, after bishop d2, c4 looked super appealing during the game. If my opponent takes, then e4 remains undefended. This is obviously a very juicy move to play, and I still cannot really explain why I did not go for it. I mean, I just simply had way too many tempting options at this point. So after spending a bit of time, I'm analyzing the consequences of taking queen h4 and trying to get an attack. So I go f takes e4, bishop takes on e4, and then landing the queen to h4. Throwing it like a dart's arrow towards the bullseye. Queen h4, really one of my favorite moves in chess. Okay, if Bobby Fischer is saying with knight on d4 you never lose, with queen on h4 you always win. This is the Alex Bonanza rule of King's Indian. Whenever you get to play queen h4. And let's combine it with knight d4. Then you know you're doing great. And after bishop to f3, it is already very tempting to go for a bishop sacrifice, but in order to make such moves work, you need to have a superior ratio of attackers against defenders, which is why bishop e5, typical build-up move, bringing another piece into the attack, and then preparing to play thematic breakthrough sacrifice. Bishop takes on f3, simply removing the pawns in front of the enemy king. I know I said in the beginning we need pawns in front of the pieces, but the game dynamic simply allowed a powerful piece play. So my opponent went queen e2, and now I'm looking at bishop h3. You cannot take us, then I'm at least winning back the piece and your king is completely open. And my opponent went for another great idea that I go about in my upcoming strategy book, which is if you feel like your king is in danger, you have to bail out with a queen trade. Such move like queen e4 can save you so many games. I mean, don't get me wrong, like white's position is still miserable, but queen e4, you keep the game going. So at this point, I'm really spending time trying to find a way to play for checkmate. It just feels like there should be more than just playing an extra pawn endgame. But time is ticking, so I end up going for the trade and then bishop f5, which is an extra pawn endgame, which may not seem like a lot for the untrained eye. But at this point, I know I have to be completely winning. The only task that remains is to trade pieces. If I'm able to start trading pieces, then the win will become more intuitive. So I start with rook e8, preparing to trade rooks, rook e1, king f7, protecting the rook so that we can move the bishop away and start trading. And now I was expecting my opponent to play f4, but he went for something different. He tried bishop a5 to get counterplay. And yeah, I didn't really have much time to calculate. I just went bishop f6 and then bishop c7. I'm realizing that I do not have a way of actually protecting d6 comfortably, but I go for a counterattack instead, because this is what you do when you don't have simple defense. You look for a counterattack. The point being that after the rook trade, if you start eating my pawn, I'm actually going d3, not only threatening to queen, but winning back the sacrificed pawn. So my opponent spent a bit of time thinking here. I didn't feel like he has much of a choice other than the trade. And well, it's gonna be quite entertaining because we have a technical position where both players have less than 10 seconds on the clock. So we have b3, d3, getting his bishop passive, and I know that my pawn is in danger of being lost, but I'm banking on the fact that opponent's d5 pawn is isolated, and we're going right after that. f3, king e5, king d2, pick up the pawn, and there is one cool idea that I actually missed in the next couple of moves. I could have gotten even a larger advantage if after g4 I would have found bishop f2 h4 idea, but I simply went for the trade. And after d5 king d3, I'm basically playing ping pong with my opponent, just getting the ball over the net. I obviously don't have enough time to calculate it all the way till the end, but I'm making moves that keep the advantage while trying to gain time and think during my opponent's move, trying to look for the winning plan. And after bishop to b8, king e4, black is completely winning with the extra pawn and much more active pieces. I unfortunately missed some quicker wins, but bishop e7, king f5, still pretty much in the zone. And yeah, after a4, I'm just looking. Can't really pinpoint the last key idea, but bishop trade was a sneaky attempt. He wasn't able to trade, and now bishop a5 controlling the enemy king. But unfortunately, my opponent simply flagged, but the final position was still waiting for black. With this win, I'm moving on 5 points out of 6, and in the next round, I am facing a 2200 opponent from Poland. So I wanted to thank you guys for making it all the way this far into the video. Make sure to leave a like, and I'll catch you in the next one.